Today, we're going to learn how to pronounce the vowels correctly in Spanish. Don't go away. Online, welcome to Spanish with El Güero. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, well, subscribe so that you don't miss any classes. Also, while you're at it, why don't you give this video a like? In our last 3 classes, we learned how to pronounce the consonants in Spanish. And to review those classes, you can click right here. Today, we're going to learn how to pronounce the vowels in Spanish. The vowels in Spanish are much more simple than they are in English. But there is a danger here. Since the vowels are so complicated in English, a lot of English speakers, when they learn Spanish, they apply that same complication to Spanish, and they end up pronouncing the vowels incorrectly. As you are learning and speaking Spanish, get out of your head all of that complicated stuff about how when the E comes before the I, or the I before the E, or when 2 vowels go walking, the first does the talking, and all that stuff. In Spanish, it is very, very simple. Each vowel in Spanish represents only one sound. Now, that is a big difference from English, in which each of the vowels has several sounds. In Spanish, each vowel has one sound and only one sound. This makes reading and writing Spanish very simple once you learn the sound of each vowel. The names of the vowels in Spanish are the sound that they make. So the vowels in Spanish are A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. The A is always pronounced A. It is never pronounced A, it is never pronounced A, and it is never pronounced A. It is always A, such as in papa, papa. There's no such thing as papa or papa or something like that. No, it's papa. The E is always pronounced E. It is never E, it is never A, and it is never A. It is always E, such as in bebe, bebe. It is not bebe or bibe or anything like that. It is bebe. The I is always pronounced E. It is never I, it is never I, and it is never A. It is always E, such as in iris, iris. It is not iris or iris. No, it is iris, iris. The O is always pronounced O. It is never O or A or A. It is always O. The great majority of English speakers who learn Spanish pronounce this letter wrong because they want to pronounce it O, like the long O in English. It is never O. It is just O. O, as in poco, poco. It is not poco or paco. No, it is poco, poco. The U is always pronounced U. It is never U. It is never U. And it is never it's always U, such as in Sulu, Sulu, U, Sulu. And so now you know how to pronounce all of the vowels in Spanish. It's very simple. They each have one sound and only one sound, and they always make that sound. For example, in the word reconfigurar, reconfigurar. In this word, we have all of the vowel sounds. Re, con, fi, gu, rar. The E is E, the O is O, the I is E, the U is U, and the A is A. Reconfigurar, reconfigurar, uniformaré, uniformare. In this word, we also have all of the vowel sounds. Uniformare. The U is U, the I is E, the O is O, the A is A, and the E is E. Uniformare, uniformare, uniformare. So as you can see, since in Spanish each vowel only has one sound, that means that there are only 5 vowel sounds in Spanish. In English, there are many more than 5 vowel sounds. And so there are several vowel sounds in English that don't exist in Spanish. So you need to get those sounds out of your head when you are speaking Spanish. And that tends to be a little bit problematic for many English speakers. You'll have to train yourself not to pronounce them. For the letter A, the sound, as in about, and the sound, as in ant, don't exist in Spanish. Do not pronounce them. The A is always a. For the I, the sound, as in win and sit, doesn't exist in Spanish. Do not pronounce it. The I is always pronounced E in Spanish. For the O, the sound, as in sun, and the sound, as in foot, do not exist in Spanish. Don't pronounce them. The O is always pronounced O. For the U, the sound, as in fun, and the sound, as in put, do not exist in Spanish. Don't pronounce them. The U is always pronounced U. A, E, I, O, U. That is all. Now, since each vowel in Spanish represents only one sound, there are no one-letter diphthongs in Spanish. A diphthong is a sound that's actually made up of 2 vowel sounds together. In English, most of the long vowel sounds are diphthongs, as in bake. In bake, the A has the long sound, A, but it's actually 2 sounds, A, bake, bake. So we have one letter, the A, which is representing 2 sounds, A. This never happens in Spanish. The A is always A. In the word like, the vowel sound is I, but it's actually 2 sounds, I, like, like. So once again, we have one vowel, the I, which is representing 2 sounds, I. This never happens in Spanish. In Spanish, the I is always pronounced E. Or in the word note. Note. In note, the vowel sound is O, but that is actually 2 sounds. O, note, note. So again, we have one vowel, which is representing 2 sounds. O, note. This never happens in Spanish. In Spanish, the O is always pronounced O. Not O, just O. The same thing happens in cute. In cute, the vowel sound is U, but that is actually 2 sounds. U, U, cute. So we have one vowel, the U, which is representing 2 sounds. U, cute. This never happens in Spanish. In Spanish, the U is always pronounced U. Not you, just U. So you need to get those diphthongs out of your head. The A is never A, the I is never I, the O is never O, and the U is never U. Also, the E is never A. A lot of times in English, we pronounce an E as A, another diphthong. That never happens. So don't insert diphthongs where they do not belong in Spanish. It is universidad and not universidad. It is bebé and not bebé. It is poco and not poco. It is teléfono and not teléfono. To say my name is, you say yo me llamo and not yo me llamo. Universidad, bebé, poco, teléfono, yo me llamo. Get those one-letter diphthongs out of your head right now from the very beginning. There are diphthongs in Spanish, but they have to be written with two vowels. If there is just one vowel, it's not a diphthong, it's just one sound. But there are diphthongs in Spanish written with two vowels. Reina. In order to make the A sound in Spanish, you have to write it with E-I, because the E says E and the I says E. And so to say A, you have to write E-I. Reina. Aire. Aire. If you want to make the I sound in Spanish, you have to write it with A-I, because the A makes the sound and the I makes the E sound. I. And so it has to be A-I. Aire. Viuda. Viuda. In order to make the U sound in Spanish, you have to write it with an I and a U, because it's actually two sounds. EU. The I makes the E sound and the U makes the U sound. And so to make the EU sound, you have to write I-U, viuda. So remember, in Spanish, each vowel only represents one sound. And so if a word contains a diphthong, then you write it with two vowels. Now, in English, a lot of times the vowels are silent. The E is silent a lot of the time, and the other vowels can also be silent when they come with another vowel. This never happens in Spanish except in one situation. The only vowel that is ever silent in Spanish is the U, and this only happens in three situations. When we have a hard G before an E or an I, then we put a silent U between them to conserve that hard G sound, such as in guerra and guía. Guerra, guía. We have a G before an E and before an I, respectively. And in order to retain that hard G sound, we have to insert a U between them, because if not, it would be the soft G sound that sounds like an H in English. But we don't want that, and so we put a silent U between the G and the E, and between the G and the I, respectively. Guerra, guía. The other situation in which the U is silent is when it comes after the Q. In Spanish, we always put a U after the Q, just like in English, but the difference is that it is silent when it comes after the Q in Spanish, such as in que and quién. The U is always silent after the Q in Spanish. So as I said, the U is the only vowel that is ever silent in Spanish, and it's only silent in these very specific situations: between a hard G and an E or an I, and always after the Q. And so in any other situation, be sure to pronounce all of the vowels, such as in bailar, bailar. You have to pronounce the A and the I. Ahí, bailar. It is not bailar, it is bailar. Autor, autor. You have to pronounce the A and the U. Au, autor. It is not autor, it is autor. Leer, leer. You have to pronounce both of the E's. Leer. It is not leer or ler. No, it is leer. And that is all there is to know about the pronunciation of the vowels in Spanish. So let's review. Each vowel in Spanish has only one sound. The sound of each vowel is its name. A, E, I, O, U. There are many vowel sounds in English that do not exist in Spanish. The a, the 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 etc. And so you need to get those sounds out of your head when you are speaking Spanish because they don't exist. In Spanish, there are no one-letter diphthongs. If you see just one vowel, then you pronounce just one sound. If you see two vowels, then you must pronounce both of those sounds. Do not insert diphthongs where they don't belong. You only pronounce a diphthong in Spanish if you see two vowels together. In Spanish, there is only one vowel that can ever be silent, and that is the U. It is only silent when it comes between a hard G and an E or an I, and whenever it comes after the Q. In any other situation, you must pronounce all of the vowels. And that's our class for today. Remember to practice by listening to words with these vowel sounds and then repeating them. Look up words with each of the vowel sounds, listen to them, and then repeat them. Record yourself as you repeat them, and then listen to them again, listen to your recording, compare them, and then repeat the process until your pronunciation is like the correct pronunciation. And really work on not pronouncing sounds that don't exist in Spanish and not pronouncing diphthongs where they don't go. I hope you enjoyed this class and that it was useful for you. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet so that you don't miss any classes. See you next time.